Hello and welcome to another week of Monday with the Mayor. I'm Bradford Raths, and we are back in Jasper with Terry Seitz.
Hi Bradford, good morning.
Good morning.
Or afternoon. I know it's going to show later.
Now.
Evening, got it. Sorry about that, folks.
It is evening, it's all good.
We know how this works.
Absolutely. So this week on Wednesday, the Subdivision Control and Zoning Ordinances meeting. Hope I got that right.
You did it pretty well. We funded in 2013 and entered into a contract with a combined group. And they are going to be looking with the City of Jasper, reviewing and likely revamping or matching up our zoning and subdivision control ordinances with other things that are on the state ordinance. This is something that is both a tightening and it could be a loosening of things that we do. Ultimately, it's a significant part of any city is to plan and to look at how it will grow, not just necessarily expanding, but from the inside. And certainly having that capacity and doing it well is critical. So we identified early on that we had not done a formal replacement of, review of our zoning ordinances since 1993, and a significant portion of that ordinance stems from 1973. And it's not to say they are outdated or bad, but ultimately things change, things grow, new way of looking at things, certainly new planning techniques all come into play, and we feel very comfortable. This is not an insignificant undertaking. This is very, very important because it's setting the stage again for maybe that next 20 years of where Jasper should grow, what we should look like. Things that come into play of zoning overlays. Does our downtown have a different standards of zonings over and above what exists in the other parts of the city because of a look we want to have? It currently has existing sign ordinances that are more restrictive than other parts of the city. So we've started some of that already. And that's a very important meeting. This is the first time our steering committee will meet. They will meet in public. This process could take the majority of the year, but ultimately we'll be engaging behind the scenes with builders, with developers, with trades, with other people for public input and interviews. And the first meeting again is 6:30 Wednesday night here at City Hall.
Well, as they say, times they keep a-changing.
Well, they do, but ultimately also we're not here to say what we have is totally wrong as much as making sure that it's freshened, it's updated, and we look at things as language may change and really as we see our city changing. And anything that's 20 years old is really almost ancient in the terms of a city. And we look forward to those next 20 years and see if we can create ordinances that actually match where we see our city growing, that matches our comprehensive plan that was done in 2010.
So now as we move on to our next subject matter, stellar communities. Let's talk about Jasper's part in that.
The state of Indiana, under the tutelage of former Lieutenant Governor Becky Skillman, started a program called Stellar Communities. Essentially, it's a way for them to pass through as a state federal grants. Federal grants basically dealing in transportation, housing, and community development. So they are combining and running essentially a competition among cities for administering a Stellar Communities program where 2 communities in Indiana are chosen from those who can compete. You have to have a current comprehensive plan to compete. Jasper has essentially set letters of interest the last 3 years. We keep growing and modifying those letters, learning from others, learning from what we could do better. We had, for the first time ever, under Lieutenant Governor Ellspermann's administration, we had a follow-up meeting to our letter and said, here's where Jasper did well, here's some things that other communities done that you could do better in the presentation thereof. Ultimately, we are taking this approach. We've done some stellar community research. We made a road trip last week to a couple of communities nearby who have it. How do they do it? What do they think elevated them beyond others? And ultimately, we believe that it's not just a letter of intent, which is due in February, but it's also to be able to prepare and leverage that letter of intent to an application process. And if we waited to the application time that we have maybe made the finalist, we would be too late. So we're going to gear up. We know that we have a downtown Jasper Riverfront Master Plan. It becomes really our backbone for our application. We're going to make an assumption. We're going to enter the letter letter of intent, but we're going to begin a process that takes us to the next step of implementing our Downtown Jasper Master Plan, working more with city visions. And in cooperation with them and others, we're going to be looking at their work in our next stages of Downtown Jasper Riverfront Master Planning to also include helping us with that application. So we're going to make the assumption, whether it's right or wrong, that we're going to be a finalist. And if we're not, the work that we gain, the understanding from council and other members of the importance of where we go with our community ultimately serves us well. Ideally, we'd like to be a finalist. Ideally, we'd like to win. Bedford last year ended up with $19 million of projects, half of them funded with grants, some local monies. We know we have things that the public expects us to do or that we should review as a city with a plan and take to the next stage. We just want to combine that with stellar communities. So as citizens, this is critically important. We're going to exercise right now our Downtown Jasper Riverfront Development Plan into an application process, what we hope would be a Stellar Communities Grant Award. But in exercising that, we still have the ability to act independently and to do things we need to. We're just going to leverage both of those and kind of enjoy the process. It's going to be a great amount of work for the city and those who we may be called upon to help us.
Right. So on top of the money, though, it would be some nice recognition for the things that have gone on recently.
There would be, and I would look at that as secondary. Ultimately, I think the recognition comes with some implementation. So ideally, we want to do this anyway. If we can piggyback it with Stellar, that's great. But people who have not heard of Stellar Communities, again, when you're looking at identifying projects and accomplishments, this is a 3-year program of which you have an opportunity to leverage your assets, private assets, with federal and state grants. And we simply can't ignore that given the level that we're at and given our meeting last year after the competition is saying, Jasper, this is where you stand. Ultimately, we know we're a little different. We're not approaching this as a community that is struggling, but as a community that is good and that can become even better.
Right. Well, Mayor, best of luck with that.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
This has been another week of Monday with the Mayor. We'll have more news right after this.